Well, hello everybody. Welcome. Happy Christmas. As you can see, we've planned really well for this. So just when you thought it was over, um, you have to forgive me today. I'm completely out of sorts. So Tabitha is going to be holding the show as usual. Just throw that on you. So Tabitha,
Thank
I'm
you.
Neil, by the way. I always forget to introduce myself. I just assume everybody knows I am. How audacious of me. So I'm Neil. I'm the editor-in-chief now of Block Magazine. I decided to give myself a promotion just because I can. And my lovely co-host, as usual, is Tabitha of Murderknits. So before we
Hello.
start, Tabitha, how can people find you online? Because I always forget to ask you, because I just assume everyone knows who you are.
I'm
Just in
only
case.
on YouTube.
Oh, are you? Oh, you got rid of everything now, have you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, but that's private. That's like for friends, close friends and family.
Oh, is that why I'm not
So
on that?
you are too on my Facebook, you damn liar. No,
Yeah,
I'm not on Instagram anymore because I just sit and I doom scroll. So I only log on to Instagram when Neil tells me there's drama, and then I go read the drama and I go back off Instagram.
no,
So
actually, Tabitha is the one that tells me about the drama. Come on, get that right. I drama finds me. I don't have to go looking for it.
I doom scroll on Instagram when I'm in the tub, but I don't post on
Well,
Instagram anymore.
that's definitely a female thing because men do that when they're on the loo or the toilet or
Yeah,
whatever you
I
would
don't do
call
that when I'm taking a dump.
it. That's what I do because it's kind of fitting, I think. I do it especially if I'm on Craftsnark. That's usually, the time.
Yeah, I do read Craftsnark in the tub. That's definitely a you light a candle, you turn the lights off, you got the bubbles. It's an ambiance thing to read Craftsnark.
Yeah, because of all the lovely things that it's so romantic, isn't it, Craftsnark?
God.
Yeah, I later on, we're not going to do it just yet, but we've got a little bit of Craftsnark stuff to talk about. I have anyway. We've got a bit of a drama that's unfolding. Some of you will know about already, so we'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Tabitha's incessant knitting, her non-stop knitting, and I believe she's going to be throwing some questions at me. So I'm probably going to need
Yes,
some help from the audience. So ring a
yes.
friend time because I think she's doing it just to try and prove how little I know about knitting, isn't it? That's what.
No, I know. I know nothing.
Oh, what? Before we go on, what are you working on? As if I didn't know.
My Morticia shawl, because I have 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days to get it finished, unblocked, and
So
posed. Yeah, because you're going
yes.
to be the centerfold, aren't you? So Tabitha's going to be in the middle of the magazine just with that shawl, nothing else.
Oh,
Just
good Lord.
strategically placed.
There's not enough knitting to cover. So it's a play on my Murdered It shawl. Morticia shawl. This is DK. I'm gonna stop after two skeins because it's already really big. And honestly, I would love to do a third skein, but I don't have time. But it's a recipe. There's no gauge. There's no instructions. You cast on and you knit till your ancestors say stop. So your
Can
tech
I just
editor will
say,
love it.
yeah, I was going to say Tabitha's patterns are a nightmare. Not because they're difficult, it's because they're usually really, really easy and formulaic and whatever. But she doesn't do a gauge swatch, so it's kind of like,
No,
ah. So Tabitha's patterns will never have the information that you might desperately need. So I'm
no.
I'm letting
You
everyone
pick
know
your
about that
needle,
now.
you pick your yarn, and you just knit until I don't. Neil messaged me. He goes, my tech editor wants to know what the gauge swatch is. And I'm like, is she fucking new here? This is Murder Knits. We don't do gauge swatches.
Hey, we're trying to be professional now. We've got all the staff
No.
and everything now.
Yeah.
I hope you've hired a photographer for the photo shoot.
His name is Tom.
Is he using his mobile phone by any chance?
But he's got a damn good phone. He has the brand new iPhone that it's way better than mine.
So when the cover photo's shit, it won't be my fault or the tech editor's fault or anybody's fault. It'll all be down to Tabitha. So bear that in
No,
mind.
it'll be Tom.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to credit him inside, aren't we? Tom
Yeah.
Murderknits.
Yeah.
Because that is your actual last name, isn't it, Murderknits? I don't think
So
you've
I
given him.
ordered. I was at work yesterday, and it was an emergency, and I wasn't prepared to go to work, and so I didn't pack a lunch for me or my son because I work where he goes to school, and I was like, shit. And so I like, well, I'll just DoorDash, a Happy Meal for him because I couldn't leave. There was an emergency and I couldn't leave. And so on my DoorDash, because I used my email, it said my first name was Murder and my last name was Knits. And the lady delivering my DoorDash was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, she probably thought she was not going to come away from that door.
I gave
She was
her a
going to be pulled
$10 tip in
inside.
cash though. So I think that was
Wow.
pretty my first DoorDash ever because I was scrambling. Oh, and then Waylon thought he was the coolest kid in school because he had a Happy Meal for lunch.
Is DoorDash what we just call like Just Eat or Deliveroo, or is that what a DoorDash is?
They deliver they deliver like fast food or groceries. It's a lot of
Ah,
people. That's how like when we were on lockdown. That's how a lot of people bought food and had it delivered to like a restaurant food or
so it's so we have Uber, Uber cabs. They do that as
yeah,
well, but we also use the what you would call the grocery store one as well. So Tesco will do it as well, usually
yeah.
for a lot cheaper, and they'll deliver
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, whereas the others won't. Because they're usually like on a moped, on a little bike.
Well,
The
this
foreign.
lady had not where I live because we're too rural. I mean, there's no. It's not like you live in the city like in a 3 mile radius. Like my home is 10 miles away from my work. Like
Wow.
so,
Wow, that's like an overnight trip for me.
no.
Oh, so I'm just going to have a quick look. So have we had any good comments yet? Let's have a. Oh, we've had lots
I
of
can't see the
comments.
comments. I
Okay.
haven't
Oh,
seen the.
are you on your phone?
Yeah.
Someone said it's about pigging time. Oh, that's Adam. Hi, Adam. But we're worth waiting for. I had to wait for Tabitha because she was cooking. She's cooking chicken. I was waiting for an hour. I was ready.
Such a liar.
Yeah, I am lying. Yeah. See, I admit when I'm a liar.
I don't. I do not. I plead the fifth.
Yeah, I can't even be bothered reading all them. Sorry. I'll look at the new ones that come in. All the old comments, there's just too many. It's all blurry. Right. So, are we going to talk about issue 11 first, or do you want to talk about anything else first?
We do. Well, what are you knitting on? Are you even knitting? Do you knit anymore? Are you even a knitter, Neil? Where's the knitting?
Well, I have yarn here. So, I'll tell you what I'll show you. I'm the only thing I'm knitting. It's over the other side of the room. Is I'm still working on that Garter Marla cardigan. It's just taking me forever because I'm on the boring bit, the bottom of the body, and I pick it up and do about 3 rows, and then I just put it down because I just find it really tedious when there's nothing to do. I've realised that about myself is I need something quite complicated. Although when I first start something complicated, I feel quite overwhelmed with it all. But
Yeah.
to knit and keep me interested, I do have to have that. So it's over there. I'm probably only about 6 rows ahead if you watched Knit Night the other day when I showed it. That's probably about as far as I've got. The only other thing I've
Yeah.
been working on. Myself and one of our friends called Katie. I won't say her last name because I'm not sure how anonymous or not she is. But we were both doing a course that was held by it was in New York, so it was on Zoom. I didn't fly over, obviously, and it's about mathematics and crochet. So it's called topographical crochet, which is one of them things where they make it sound a lot more complicated than it actually is. And it's things like Mobius shapes. So, like with your cowl, where your cowl, what have you done? What's the matter? What have you lost?
I was like, what the fuck's a Mobius?
Oh, I thought you'd lost something really important then. Yeah, you made one. Your cowl was one. Your cowl that was in the magazine that had the twist?
Oh yeah, the twist. Yeah.
That's a Mobius shape. But what they were teaching us how to do is how to do it in one go, but without having to twist and without having to seam. But then it gets really complicated. This is as far as I've got. I'm failing abysmally. The next thing is this weird. Well, it's hard to see with all the bits of yarn. I'll try and cover them up.
And your
But
fat
this is
fingers.
my King Charles sausage fingers. Have I cleaned my nails? So it's hard to see what that's supposed to be at the moment, but it's going to be like two Mobiuses together. So, would you believe? I said to everyone, "Don't ring me." Can you hear the phone ringing?
Yes.
Sorry, everybody. You'll just have to wait for that to. Welcome to my really professional podcast, everybody.
Welcome to Murderknits.
Uh,
That's all right. It's
why
real
does the
life.
phone always ring for longer when you don't want it to be ringing?
And why do you
Yeah.
have such a shit ringtone?
I don't know how to change it. That's the actual truth of the matter. This is why I managed to find out how to put a Christmas background on, which you may or may not be noticing at the moment. But now I don't know how to take it off. So it's going to be Christmas forever. So that song, I Wish It Was Christmas Every Day. Well, you've got it here. So anyway, yeah. So we're doing this mathematical crochet thing, and it's interesting. But my criticism of it is that the woman who's doing it is obviously a brainiac. You know, she's very mathematical, and she crochets as well. But the problem, you know, those really clever people that they know what they're talking about, but they're just not very good at explaining it. It's that kind of situation. So she's talking about stuff, and it's like, what the are you saying? Why can't you say it in just ordinary, plain words? Like topographical. I had to look that up. Do you know what it means?
No. I don't know what Mobius means. You think I know what topographical means?
It just means 3D. You know, like topography is like study of mountains and the terrain, you know, up and down. So all it is just shapes that isn't on a flat plane. And it's like, why don't you just call it 3D crochet? You know, why does it have to be topographical? I mean, obviously, it makes it sound even more, you know, like, oh, I can do topographical crochet.
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting. So I did the first one. There's another 3 to go, but I've not done my homework yet, and I'm getting, you know, when the day's looming when you haven't done your homework and you just want to put it off, and I'm getting to the point now where I think I've forgotten what they showed us in the first lesson, so I don't know how. I've got to catch up, so I think I'll be speaking to Katie, seeing if she can help me out. So that's all. Well, that and I've been designing, and you're going to be like, huh, what was it you said? With your pearl bumps.
Well, when you told me it was, you know, like the cow you're designing, and you shared with me the color chart how it's the bears. I'm thinking, he's doing a bear sweater, and I thought it was gonna be like pearl bumps the bears, like your color work chart. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh no, I read it. It's like with your pearl bump patterns, like that's all I can do.
I didn't mean it like that, honestly.
I was like, you wait. I'm going to make something so complicated. Yeah, because I'm trying to learn. Oh, because this is the funny thing. You know, when the snarkers all say, ooh, they only ever do cowls, you know, and all that. It's like, well, you know, I'm only speaking for myself, but I'm learning to design. Do you know what I mean? I didn't come out of the womb like Stephen West, you know. So I'm starting with basics and moving up, because my thing is I can do charts, I can do all of the pattern stitch stuff really well, but it's the shaping of like a sweater that I'm learning. I'm actually doing another course at the moment to do that. So I'm starting off with a kind of a poncho. I mean, would you call? I don't know whether you saw the shape properly, but it's a poncho, but it's not a poncho. Like in my mind, a poncho is like a diamond shape with a hole in the middle, so it's kind of like pointed at the front. That's how I see a poncho. But this is more like it's just two straight panels. Like a what?
Oh, like is there no arm? There's no armholes, right?
No, it's all it is really. Is imagine doing a drop shoulder sweater, but without seaming and without any arms, and then with a big cowl-y type thing around the neck. That's what I'm doing really. So you could seam it if you wanted to. But I'm not putting instructions for that in. So that's kind of like my first step into doing a proper garment, because it's the simplest shape that you can do, you know, and also it's oversized. So I'm hoping it'll be, well, it won't be size inclusive, but I'm hoping, you know, even fat fuckers like me could wear it. Well, I wouldn't wear it because I wouldn't wear that style, but you know what I mean. Even you might fit into it, Tabitha.
Well.
Joking.
I've been gaining some weight lately, all this stress. So probably not.
Oh. Well, you're not allowed to lose that weight, otherwise you're fat phobic, because going on diets and losing weight is...
I couldn't lose it if I fucking wanted to. My doctor is like, so, should we try some weight loss medication? And I'm like, I'm here for something else. I'm not here for even, like...
Oh, when I was a smoker, so I used to smoke quite heavily, and I gave up. Must be 15 years ago now. That's how I started knitting and crocheting because of smoking, to stop smoking. And every time I went to the doctor, it was always the smoking that was the problem. So I gave up smoking, put a ton of weight on, as you do, and now everything is because you're fat. It's like
Yeah.
you got a headache. It's because you're fat. It's like no, not everything is because of fat, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, my dad was a smoker. He smoked a pack a day. He died of cirrhosis of the liver because he was an alcoholic. And the doctors would always harp on him about his smoking.
Yeah,
And
that
he's
wasn't the
like,
issue, was it?
no. And when he was dying, he's like, you better tell that, MFer that I'm not dying because of lung cancer. You know?
I think the thing about cancers is that you've either got a propensity for getting it or not. So if you're a smoker that is going to get a cancer, you will get cancer, and if you're a smoker who doesn't get cancers, then you won't. But anyway, that's me being doctor for the day. Oh, I found my Mobius. There we go. That's the Mobius thing, which you probably can't really tell because of how
It looks like
small
you just
it
made a mistake.
is. Well, I won't tell you what else it looks like. I'll put it away. Yeah. Well, I don't make mistakes. What you're talking about, right? So, shall we? I need to find. As you can tell, I'm always prepared, and I haven't looked through the magazine issue 11 to even remember what's in it. So yet again, I'm going to be saying things I don't remember what this is, because I've said before, once I do an issue, I kind of have to erase it from my head. Otherwise, I just can't get on with life. So I forget what's even in there. Right. So I've got to go. Where have I got to go? Instagram's a good start, isn't it? So occupy yourselves just for a minute. Or Tabitha can teach you something knitting related. I don't know.
I cannot.
What, have you forgotten how to knit?
No.
I did the other day, actually. Have you never done that, where you come to the end of a row and then all of a sudden you just can't remember which way round the knitting should be because you're thinking about it? Like it's like if you're riding a
never
bike
had
and
that
you
problem.
think about it.
I've never had that problem. That must be a male problem.
Well, it's like we have trouble multitasking, don't we? So, well, men do, allegedly. Why can't I even find this? What's the matter with me
All right,
today?
so while Neil is figuring out his life, if you've missed me, I put out a new episode on my YouTube channel, and then
Don't watch it.
after that, rude. And then after that, I was on the Knit Night podcast. So if you want more Murder Knits and less Neil, because he was not on either of those episodes, go watch them after you watch this.
I'm surprised you're even here. We're getting somewhere. Woohoo. Right, so it's blocked 11. I am so rubbish. Sorry about this, everyone. Oh, we've had quite a few more readers. That's good. And then I need to share. And is it painful watching a Gen Xer trying to... Right.
I'm not a Gen Xer.
Oh, yeah. What are you?
You're not. I'm a millennial. Aren't you a boomer?
I just missed that. I just missed being a boomer.
Oh.
So
my mom's a boomer.
I'm an original Gen Xer.
She's the last year of boomers. She's born in 64.
Oh, right. Well, we probably... Well, we are quite close in age-ish.
You could be my dad.
Oh, geez.
You could be a grandpa, because I have kids.
Oh my God. No, I don't want the shame or the disappointment, thank you. I wanted you to become a doctor. And what did you end up being? A knitter. You brought shame on the family. Okay, so what do we have here? Oh, now this looks very much like a
swastika.
Yeah, so this is God. It seems like such a long time ago that this was the drama of the day, doesn't it? So basically, Stephen West released one of his station shawls, and it had this motif in the middle of it, and which obviously had got through all the tech editors, all the testers, everybody who works with him never saw anything dodgy about it at all. Released it, and obviously the usual normal people like us didn't see anything dodgy at all, but the weirdos saw a swastika and
I
caused a
still
huge
don't see a
drama.
swastika.
No,
Like
I think
I
it's
still don't see it. It's the wrong flipping. Like, have these people never seen a swastika?
well, this is
Did
the
they not
thing,
take
isn't
a
it?
history class?
Well, this is it. You know, like how everybody's protected from being harmed now. It's going to get to the point where we're not even allowed to see history of the actual Nazis
No.
and what they did because of upsetting people with the symbol. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you were not a Jew in World War II or a person in the war itself, you have no right being offended by a swastika. No right at all, because you've got no,
Yeah.
it doesn't affect you. It
Yes.
didn't have any fear for you at all. I mean, there are still some Jewish survivors left. I get that. And I understand, I'd have a little bit more empathy for a Jewish person that had an issue with it. But even then, it's like, well, no, it's not hurting you. It's a historical symbol that goes way back to the dawn of time, and the Nazis just used it for 11 years.
I was watching a documentary on some Jews who survived the Holocaust and who, they got out when the troops came in and liberated them and freed them. And this one Jew had a Nazi flag that he stole, and it was hanging up in his living room. And he did it because he goes, "What would infuriate Hitler more? The fact that I'm alive and I have this."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The fact that I'm alive and I built a successful business. Now he lives in New York City and he's built a successful business, and he's, he has a legacy with, grandkids and great grandkids, and he has it hanging. He stole it, and he has it hanging in his room because he goes, it would piss Hitler off more the fact that I'm alive and thriving, and I stole this.
Yeah, that he could actually have it, whereas Hitler's idea would he'd be dead. And yeah. And also, like, I think Adams pointed out in the comments it was Buddhist, but before that, it was. I think Nitty McPurley did quite a good talk about this, didn't she? About how it's been in cultures way before, and it's a symbol of peace. I think, I don't know, I can't remember what it is, but even like Native Americans had this symbol in some of their, and it's like, but were they all secretly Nazis? Is this, was Nazism here before anything else was here? But
well,
anyway, so
the left would like you to think that.
Yeah. Oh God. Wait. There's so much. I could talk forever on the nonsense that they go on about. So we probably best not go in there. Right. So this was the cover. I decided sod it because nobody else was showing it at the time. Oh, well, some people were. I thought, well, we'll have it on the cover, and why not? So there we go. And a few changes that we've been doing, because now we have a tech editor. Woo! We was going to start having the commonly used abbreviations either at the beginning, as it is here, or at the back. So we're probably going to be taking them out of individual patterns. So every pattern that gets submitted, it gets checked to see whether there's anything new in those abbreviations, and then it will be added here or at the back. So when you come to look at patterns, if there's suddenly no what you're supposed to be doing with this symbol, you'll find it at the beginning or at that. My usual boring introduction. I don't even know whether anyone reads them. I know I don't read them after, but so this was just talking about, it's coming back to me. So this issue was the Windmills of Your Mind issue, and it all fitted perfectly because I chose this months before Stephen West did his shawl, but obviously that shawl is a windmill shape, isn't it? And it's a spiral in there, and that's so everything in this issue is kind of linked to spirals and windmills and pinwheels in some way. And we had a great response to Stephen West here. It says, "Dear Mr. West, you done messed up Aaron. What's that from? You done messed up Aaron? Is that from a TV show?"
Yes, Aaron.
What is it? I don't know the reference. Do you know what it is?
I don't, but I've seen it and I've heard it, but it's Aaron, not Aaron. That's how they say it on the show.
Oh, how do you say? What was the word I heard you say the other day, and I was like, "What?" It's a needle. Oh, carbon.
Carbon.
You said carbon.
Carbons, because it's carbons, because the way the needle is, it's with a Z. Carbons knitting needles. Is that not how it's
Carbon
said?
needle. See, I would say carbons.
But
But
it's
a few
a
of you said it. I was
Z.
like, oh,
Carbons.
there's a V.
No, a
Oh,
Z.
right. Yeah, but carbons. That's still got a Z on the end. Carbons. I was like, what are they saying? And then it's like,
Well, so
oh,
it's the
carbons.
French. It's the French pronunciation of carbons. Carbon.
Right. Okay. So and the other drama, which I've forgotten existed now, was the whole woolen folk thing.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
that really feels a long time ago. Okay, so here's the thing about this issue: is everything that we covered about woolen folk, you didn't see anywhere else. It's all really unique information, and if you haven't read this issue, you need to. So this is a first-hand experience of someone that was there, who was a dyer there, selling not dyer there, but was selling her dyed yarn there. So this hasn't been published anywhere else. And I won't go into any of the details because I can't even remember any of the details now, but it's quite interesting. I mean, I still feel there was a little bit of that, oh, I'm a survivor, for getting through
Oh my
woolen folk,
gosh.
So there is a bit of an eye roll aspect to it, but I still think it's an interesting take that she had. And I'm going to give another shout out for Karen Hooley Designs here. She, I don't think it's in this issue, it's in the next issue. She gave us a great pattern, a crochet pattern. So go and join her group there. It's she does tutorials and all sorts of stuff. Okay. Another one of my dissidents with secret messages in there. And then this was advertising the Who Done It make along, which is now, has it finished now? Well, the story's over now, isn't it? But as she wrapped everything up.
I think so.
Yeah, so Two Sisters and Some Yarn was running that. She wrote, did you read the story?
I did not. My
I
life
knew
kind
you
of.
hadn't. How
Okay,
did
and
I
on
know
my.
you hadn't?
Well, I was going to, and I was going to be a part of it, and then some things were happening, and I was like, I can't, and I felt really bad because I was like, yes, and then I was like, I can't, and then my life just blew up, and I was like, I could not even. So Amy knows she's my sister in Christ, and she's forgiven me. I'm hoping next year we're better. But no, I did not. I feel like
Well,
shit too because I didn't. But
well, you can still read it afterwards when you've got time, because I tell you, she's a talented writer.
Mhm.
Or she had really brilliant proofreaders and editors, because I know she had loads of people, reading over it in the planning stage. But it was real. It was like, as I was reading it, I was thinking, wow, this is like a proper, this is proper story.
Yeah.
I still don't know whether I got the answer right. So although she's a good story writer, I found some things confusing because I'm a Brit. There was quite a lot of New Orleans specific things going on that I didn't quite appreciate or get, so that's why I didn't quite fit. I think I would have to have a conversation with her and read it again to fully understand it, I think. But I'm sure Americans will find it easy enough because it's part of your culture, you would think. But yeah, it was a really fun. Yeah, there's murder in it. That's all you need to know. Yeah, it was really quite fun, and I love the idea of this. So I do hope she does another one, because we're getting like these regular things. Like, so we've got your murder summer
of
murder.
murder.
We've got the Who Done It Mal now. Then there's Shark Week, and there's another one. What's the other one that's regular every year?
Well, I don't know if they're doing they did this puritanical knitting fun run.
That was it.
I don't know if they'll do that again now.
Yeah, did too many people complain about the black yarn, because that had to all be black, didn't it?
I don't know.
Even though Anne didn't knit with black, I'm still.
I didn't even follow along that one. I was like, F this.
You just saw the word puritanical, didn't you? Thought,
yeah, I was like, no.
even me, the atheist, was on board with that one. Although, did I? Oh yeah, I did. I did the. I don't think it was accepted though, because it was black and grey and bright yellow. I did that swirly hat, didn't I?
I did buy
The
the
male
yarn that Mystery Mouse Knits did for that because it was gorgeous.
And what are you
She
doing with
did a
that yarn?
special. It's hibernating. I'm gonna do like a long cardigan eventually, but
So is this another duster that you're knitting? Is that what you call them, dusters?
yeah. Well, it's not going to be as long as a duster. It's just going to be a open face cardigan, and then I'm gonna do the sleeves first. You know, start the top and then do the sleeves, and then I'll just knit until I run out of yarn.
Have you seen? Oh, it's a few years old now. It was a pattern beginning with C, something like Koriguru. And what you do is you knit the sleeves, and they meet in the middle of the back. So, and that's kind of the front bit, and then you just knit down.
Is that Knitting McPurley's?
No,
Is that a Knitting
he's probably a famous designer, but at the time when I saw it, I wasn't really into people as much. I was just looking at it. I thought, well, that's interesting. No idea whether it fitted people well or not, but I just thought it was a really interesting construction. I'll try and find the pattern later, and I'll post it on my Instagram feed so people can see. It began with a C, something like, I want to say Corriedale, but it's not Corriedale because that's the name of the yarn, isn't it? Anyway, doesn't matter. So you're now going to be known as the duster, the duster lady.
Who doesn't dust? Ironically.
Well, maybe you'd just be using it as you walk by. Because I was thinking, like these people who have these podcasts where the beginning is always like, gentle music, usually a guitar or a piano, and they have mood lighting, and then the opening scene is where they're walking through their dining room and they're brushing.
I'll just have my sweater like this and just dust the.
Yeah. That should be your podcast. That's what you need to do. And they always do like I've got a cup of coffee here now, but they always do that thing. It's like the cuddling up in front of their fire, ready to talk about this.
I
It's
can't
like,
stand that shit.
I just couldn't be asked, could you? I haven't got the energy for that. I can't even change the background thing on me screen, so I'm not going to do any of that. Okay, so then we had Yelena of Scythia. She wrote a very good article, and it's kind of addressing Stephen West's reaction to the swastikal drama. And these pictures of I was going to say swastikas. These pictures of the pinwheels are by readers that who still knitted the original design. Because if you didn't know, what he did was he released the pattern. Two people said it was like a swastika, and then created this whole drama that they were feeding into on Ravelry, wasn't it? And it was like they were really whipping it up. And then as a reaction to that, he panicked and withdrew that clue. So clue 1, wasn't it? And then he then released an alternative set of clues that other people had designed, which is fine. But then he made this really awful statement, didn't he? Where he said, if you do knit this, basically, to cut a long story short and to ad-lib a little bit, he pretty much was calling you a Nazi, allowing other people to call you a Nazi. And that, I think, is where he went wrong. Because what he should have said was, okay, if you see a swastika, here's an alternative for everyone else, and just carried on, and that would have solved the issue. Or just told everyone to F off.
Yeah.
That would have been quite an acceptable thing for me. Yeah. What was your take on it?
I didn't mind that he had an alternative for people who wanted it. That's not how I would have responded, but looking at the bigger picture, he's a huge designer. He doesn't live in America, so there may be legal ramifications to be, associated with that. So I was like, okay, well, offer an alternative, and then keep moving. The less he paid attention to, like, the less he responded, the less people would have gotten the tizzy over it.
Yeah.
But because he dragged it out and he kept bringing it up, and it was like over and over and over again.
Yeah, he could, and then he did the crying video, didn't it? Where I did, I'm a softie. I did feel sorry for him. I was taken in by the tears. Other people, well, you're hard, aren't you? You're cold.
Yeah, I'd be like, what the?
I did feel a bit sorry for him, but then it's like, oh, well, don't be so stupid. Then. Well, the thing about it, he lives in Amsterdam, which is in the Netherlands, and the thing about this is, yes, it was very close to Nazism in the day. You know, they were occupied, but you know, Britain were at war with the Nazis as well. You know what I mean? And we don't have that same fear of it. And I do know, like, say
Yeah.
in Germany, it's illegal to show a swastika, which I think is wrong. I don't think it should be illegal, but even still, that isn't a swastika, and there's no way, at least
Yeah.
at the moment, there's no way a governing body would prosecute someone for having this design because it isn't a swastika. You know, I think for it to be classed as the offensive one, it literally has to be, you know, the white swastika, oh, the black swastika on a white circle with the red around it. You know, I think it has to be a real Nazi swastika for it to be offensive. And even then, it's not offensive. It's just a historical symbol. You know, it just has meaning. That's all. So, right, I've lost the screen now. Where am I? Here we go. Yeah, so this is, it's quite, I think she's quite harsh to Stephen West. So hopefully you read that. I'm sure he did, because I think he's an avid reader of blogs. Oh, and then the most amazing cowl pattern that's ever been designed. Oh, how cool is this? Therese crocheted this and said it was an amazing experience, unless she was just lying to me and told everyone else she hated it. No, it's actually a really it's very simple. It's just one design. You just make it's kind of a circle. It's more like a hexagon really, but you can make it a circle if you switch it around a bit. But the idea behind it is it represents the Saltstrom Strait, which is the biggest set of whirlpools in the world. So each
you really missed the opportunity to make that a cat butt cow.
Oh yeah. I could do a Tabitha poncho with a cat on the front with the cat butt and then a tail going up, couldn't I? And then get you to test it. Oh, you can't crochet though, can you? Nope. I forgot. You're crochet deficient. I forgot about that.
I am.
So what else have we got? Oh, this is one I wrote. So this is one I do remember. This is the one that people are going to accuse me of being homophobic and transphobic and every other phobic you can find. But what it's about the observation of how crazy the knitters are, because we're kind of in two camps, aren't we? We've got the woke people. You've got what are we? The conservative people, and then you've got all the people in the middle that don't know what they are, but they kind of align in one way or another. And the woke people, there's something wrong with them all. I have not come across any of them that don't have some self-declared issue. Now, I'm not saying that they've got the issue. They're telling us they've got the issue. They actually tell us about it. And I think that the main difference is, conservatives have issues, mental issues, but they tend to keep them to themselves, or they don't use it as part of their identity. But so go on. You were going to say something then, weren't you?
I don't know. I remember an article or a little blurb in Blocked magazine about how the decline of eating animal fats and proper food.
Oh,
a high rate.
That was some discredited source, I think.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I thought that was a really interesting idea. I think there's a lot more to it, though, than just that. I think it's definitely a contributing factor. But what I was linking it with is that years ago, this guy did a set of experiments that have been repeated and repeated and repeated and all have the same result. So it's kind of by our standards, we can say that it's conclusive because there hasn't been anything to discredit what he's saying. And basically, with rats and mice, rodents, different types were used in different experiments. They gave them everything that they could possibly need. So they had a completely stress-free life, but they put them in a limited area and then just left them. So they had more food than they could eat. They had more water than they could possibly need. They had access to mates, so they were breeding. They had they had no predators, so they weren't afraid of anything coming to eat them. There were no cats anywhere. And it was like this observation as to what happens if you're given everything that you might need. But the only limitation is your physical space. So they weren't like put in tiny cages, they were put in huge cages, but they bred and bred and bred. And then what happens in every single case is that a set of things start to happen. So the first thing that tends to happen is a decline in fertility amongst the females. So they either miscarry or they just can't get pregnant. And that's the first sign. Not all, some do. The second thing is a rise in homosexuality. And you find that a lot of the males are trying to mount. Oh, here we go again, talking about sex. Sorry, Joan, I know you're listening. Trying to mount the dominant the dominant rodent. And then the next thing, it kind of declines. So then you have this thing where they call them the beautiful ones, which I find quite ironic because in human terms, this isn't the case. Because this is the analogy I'm making. I'm comparing it to humans now. They had these ones that all they cared about was themselves, and all they did was groomed all day long and got fatter and fatter and fatter. And they were the most attractive because they were fluffy and cute, as you would think with animals, you know. And then it completely dissolved into rats and mice that didn't do the usual courtship behavior, and in effect they were forcing the females to submit, or some of the females to submit sexually, that is. So the rats have quite a strange courtship thing that they always do, and that went out the window. And then the females, if they stayed on their own, their offspring always died without fail, or they never got pregnant, one or the other. Well, if they banded together in a harem with one dominant male, they had a 50% chance of their offspring surviving. So the only offspring were the ones that were in the harem with this very dominant male protecting them, basically. And obviously he was like, I don't know, he's the Andrew Tate of the rat world, shall we say. And and basically, this, I think, is what's happening in human society. So the more we're trapped in small places. So let's say, I mean, I think you're in are you in a rural area or are you a city
Yeah.
dweller? So in rural
Well, so
areas,
I would be what you would call like a village.
right?
Like it's
Okay,
not a big city, but it's not like I don't have like horses and farm animals out my door.
right,
Like like to what you would know, it would be a village. Like
right.
outside of the little village, there's like farms and forests and stuff like that.
So I would suggest then that I mean, this is just my hypothesis, that in your area there's probably less pride marches going on, for example. You know, in down your high street, you probably don't get a pride march like you do in the city where I live.
Well, we have, it's becoming, so where we live is 10 years ago, I would say no. But because people are escaping high taxes and high crime rates, and they're moving here, and then they are slowly turning our area into what they escaped.
Now so this is the sort of exception that proves the rule in a way, isn't it? So migration is causing this to happen in
Yes,
your area. So it's the migrating people are the ones that have these
yes,
things, rather than it being a result of it being overpopulated. So it's a bit of
yes.
which came first. Was it the people who go outside of the norm, or was it the amount of people? But anyway, the idea of this is that the more people you have in an area, the more society will break down, and eventually the rats, the rodents, were eating each other. They were literally killing and eating each other, and the R word each other indiscriminately, regardless of the gender of the other rodent. And then you have these other ones that were just so obsessed with themselves that they just groomed until some rat came along and killed them and ate them, basically. So this is what I think is happening in society. And I know it's a bit, some would say it's a bit of a stretch, but it isn't that much of a stretch. I mean, we're even actually seeing cannibalism as a sexual fetish now. You know, this, I mean, it's quite rare, but it's happened. There have been cases in Germany, in Japan. I'm sure there was one in America, like in the last 10 years. So that, I think, is going to be the next big thing. Oh, one of the other big things that rose in these communities was the attacking and R-ing, the R word that get banned for saying, of juvenile rodents. So basically, PDF files are rife in this rodent world where you put all these creatures together, and that's what we've got in the real world as well. Just so anyway, cheerful thought for a knitting magazine, but, but there you go.
Come quickly, Lord Jesus. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I watched something the other day. I should send it to you. That apparently there's a whole. I mean, I'm an atheist, so you know I'm not taking this seriously. I just find it interesting. There's a whole section of people now that are pinpointing the so-called return of Jesus to 2036.
That's
Why
fine.
they've chosen
I don't believe that, but fucking come on.
Yeah, Tabitha's got the food ready. She'll have a whole buffet put on for you.
I won't be here.
She'll even
I'll be
knit
in
your hat,
heaven.
gloves and socks. So we don't know whether that's going to happen, but we'll wait and see. Obviously, I'll get left behind when the rapture happens.
Yeah.
I'll be here with all the freaks left behind. I'll hold the fort for everyone else. We've got, I'm just going to talk about this just for a second. We have these adverts of designers and indie dyers and podcasters and so on. In the next issue, these might all go. But it's just for one issue until we're going to build it back up again. Because some people now have moved on. They're doing different things. They're not really associated with us anymore. And it's a bit like, you know, they either don't want to be in the magazine or we're just not in contact. So I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but there's going to be a bit of a change to this. Because also the other thing is people use it against them. You know, if they're in, like we've got a really good friend.
You need to add me as a designer. You need a Murderknits because I'm a knitwear designer now.
Oh, is that what you are now?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Gigi says that, doesn't she? You should say what it is that you want to be seen as. So I want to be a brain surgeon, so therefore I am a brain surgeon.
Okay, I've written like 5 knitting patterns actually, so I am a knitwear designer.
You are. Well, you need to give me your advert. But I know Tabitha, she'll expect me to do the work.
Yes, actually, I do.
Yeah, I know you well. Oh, I tell you, people, Tabitha's hard work sometimes. Oh, someone's put. Oh, sorry, everybody. So we've got. Thanks for that, Neil. Let's have some cheerful ideas. Oh, you know you love it. You know you love the doom and gloom. Okay, so on to something really cheerful. So this is the sort of the ins and outs of Woolen Folk behind the scenes. So this is all about Felicia Eve. So I was quite pleased that I got this scoop. I did quite a bit of deep diving into Felicia Eve, who was the organizer of Woolen Folk, and found out what I think are some really interesting things that nobody else is talking about or has even mentioned. So what we know about Felicia Eve in terms of knitting is that she came to prominence via a video on the Christy Glass show. Christy Glass went to see her when she just opened her is it String and Thing or Strings and Things? I think it was called
String Theory.
Oh, is it String Theory? Yeah, it was something.
So.
Yeah, and that was in Brooklyn, in a very, very upmarket area of Brooklyn. So Christy went along, and I rewatched the video because it's back up now. And what was really, really interesting is she went through and she's chatting away, and she seems really nice. Felicia's lovely, and the shop is quite a long shop, and she's walking through it, and she walks past Felicia's desk, and what's that saying that everyone was saying? Is it "Bye, Felicia"? Bye, Felicia. That's what everyone was saying after Woolen Folk. Well, she already had a little sign on her desk way back then that said "Bye, Felicia."
Bye,
and
Felicia.
I just thought, wow. I was trying to get a screenshot of it, but it literally is on the screen for like a second, so I missed it. But anyway, yeah. So Christy Glass.
A self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So arguably, Christy Glass brought her to more prominence than she would have been anyway. So her shop probably would have done okay. She would have been a shop owner, but she wouldn't have been as well known, I don't think, if it hadn't have been for Christy. So,
Mhm.
and she was one of the people that stabbed Christy Glass in the back big time. So it's worth pointing that out. I know you don't have much truck with Christy Glass, but
Well,
regardless,
I
it's
don't like her, but I don't think she deserved what people did to her.
which, oh, and they're doing it again now. It's all fired up again
Yeah.
because she's become a bit more prominent. So we can, if we got time, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But anyway, what I found out about Felicia Eve is that she was struggling after the lockdowns. I was going to say the blocked downs then. After the lockdowns, her shop, like many others, you know, she was nothing special in that regard, was struggling. And Gigi, the orange lady, and her racist daughter, yes, I said it because her daughter is a racist, they started a fundraiser for Felicia Eve so that she could pay her next month's rent on the Brooklyn store. Did I say it is Brooklyn, isn't it? I'm getting confused. It's in New York anyway. It's where all the brownstones are in New York. And they raised, I think it was $28,000 they raised, which presumably allowed her to pay the rent. And then not that long afterwards, the shop closed under a bit of a cloud. Nobody knows why. And nobody knows what she did with that $28,000, or, well, at least not publicly, no, anyway. Anyway, so there's the connection with Gigi and the racist daughter. So they are now friends, or they were friends prior to it, but they know each other. She's also a friend with our favorite dyer, Adela, very close friends with Adela. And so when the shop closed, she then did this thing called Woolen Folk. So that was like a fiber festival, wasn't it? And I'm not going to go too much into the Woolen Folk stuff because I think she is more interesting than what she did. At Woolen Folk. But the one thing I will say about Woolen Folk is that it had different pricing for vendors depending on whether you were white or black. And if you were black, you paid half, 50% of the price that white people paid to have your stand there. Now, I think that that is disgusting. And I think that if the white people knew that they were
They did.
paying double,
It
I
was
think they are
advertised.
stupid. I think they're
It
absolutely
was
idiots.
advertised on the website.
And I think any black vendor that took advantage of that is equally despicable. I think that I would have far more respect for a black vendor who said, no, this is racist. This is discriminatory practice. Therefore, I'll pay. Well, not even that. It's like anybody who paid the money knowing it shouldn't, you know, she should have been cancelled for that. You know, for the absolute racism. But anyway, I'm really going off topic. But anyway, so what I found out about Felicia Eve was that she's married to a very famous American family. And I'm going to skip ahead a few pages just so you can see the visual of this. And it's a bit farther up. Oh, there was you. Look. Here we go. Right. So this helps you. So at the very bottom, in the middle at the bottom, that's Dr. Felicia Eve, because she is a podiatrist. She is a doctor. I checked on that, and she practiced for 10 years. She's married to a man called Eric Eve. Now, Eric Eve is the son of, New Yorkers probably will know who he is, of a guy called Arthur Eve. And he was the deputy speaker of the New York Assembly. And he also had a life in Democrat Party politics, you know, going back years, but, you know, probably only at that state level, I think. Now, his daughter, who is Eric's sister, is Leisha Eve, and people often got her mixed up with Felicia. So there was Leisha and Felicia, sister-in-laws, basically. They're not the same person. And she is very well known in politics, and she ran for governor of New York. And she worked at different points directly for Governor Cuomo, whose first name I can't remember, Joe Biden when he was the senator of New York. She also worked for Hillary Clinton when she was the senator of New York. And the husband worked directly in the White House for Bill Clinton as his advisor. So this is a very, very well-connected man who she was married to. You know, they know all of the political people. I mean, how many people can say they know, you know, well, who would admit to knowing
Anybody on the
Bill
Democratic
Clinton?
Party?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're also not that this matters because anyone can be a member of any party, but they're obviously members of the Democrat Party. And Felicia Eve, the knitter, she is the one who ran the campaign, or the back office part of the campaign, when Leisha, her sister-in-law, was running for governor of New York. So I think that they know her well. And I have a theory, and I have to stress this is a theory, that I don't know that this is true. I think that she is probably the person that had a word in Big Mike's ear and said, if you pretend to be a knitter, Mike, you know, you will get a lot of support from the knitting world. And I think that possibly, allegedly, maybe, I've just dreamt that up, could be how the whole Big Mike and the knitting thing happened. Go
I
on.
believe it.
Yeah, I think she
100%.
knows them. Yeah. Shall we
Yeah.
say it's true?
Yeah.
It's true, allegedly. We don't know it, but we both suspect it. So now,
Yeah.
if we go back down to, you know, normal people, in inverted commas, normal, she's literally best buddies with Adela and Gigi. They were a threesome that were always at the festivals together. They were inseparable wherever they went.
And I want to point out that, much to Adela's demise, eyewitnesses have stepped forward and said, because Adela tried to distance herself from Felicia at one book and said, "Oh no, they were buddy buddy the whole time."
Yeah, with what's he called, Brooklyn Boy Knits as well, because he used to work for her, didn't he, at one point? So with him as part of this as well. The story is that I heard, and again, this is a story, I can't say it's true, so allegedly, and I'm just repeating gossip, that they, so, you know, Felicia, Adela, and the cabin boy knits fella, who's Louis, is he called Louis or Louis, were literally laughing at people. They were sniggering at vendors struggling to do whatever it was they were doing. Adela was fully part of that, I believe, suspect, stroke, allege. But anyway, so there's a link with the Christy Glass thing, obviously, through the magazine cover with Big Mike in there. And I wonder whether that's why there was such an outcry against it, because when Christy said, "Where's the knitting?" which is a perfectly legitimate question to ask, and they attacked her for being racist for saying that, I think there was more of a personal connection to that picture on Vogue cover than we necessarily know, which is why these three led the campaign against Christie.
I think that it's because they know she's not a knitter and were afraid that it would be found out.
Yeah. I think there's definitely something more to it. Definitely. Yeah.
I think that's my opinion.
Yeah. So keep in the back of your mind that she did a fundraiser for Felicia that was $28,000. So keep that there. I then did a bit of a deep dive into the racist daughter of Gigi. She's called Shelby. She's a real gem, I tell you. If you go on her Instagram, although she did delete one of her Instagram accounts where most of the condemning stuff was on there. She hates white women and white men. Obviously, she hates white men. But anyway, she decided she was going to set up a bookstore. So she started to do a fundraiser for herself as well. And I believe she raised $15,000 or $18,000, and then out of the blue just said, "I'm no longer going to be opening a bookstore and I will not talk about it. So don't ask questions about it." And then that was it. Cut it off, cut that account off dead. So my question is, what happened to that money? Did it go back to the donors or did she keep it? And you know, what kind of a person treats the people that have given them money in that way, not for anything in return? Because this is the thing about these donations on GoFundMe. You don't get a product at the end. It's not like when Sokmatician did his book, you know, where you paid $25 for the book in advance, you know, and then other people still had to pay for that book. It's not like anybody got it for free or anything. It's like, what do you get for a GoFundMe? Nothing. You don't get anything. So to treat those people in such a way, I think, is absolutely despicable. And she gets away with that based on, the fact that if anybody questions any of these women, they're accused of racism. Because that was one of the things about Felicia. Everyone was so scared to actually say what they wanted to say because they were afraid of being called out for being racist, for criticizing the sacred entity that is a black woman in knitting these days. So when Christy said that about Big Mike not knitting, Adela was the one that was behind. I mean, I've talked about this so many times. In fact, I'm still thinking about doing an episode on here where I go into every minute detail of it because it's a fascinating story what she did, and it does all go back to Adela. Well, these three were behind all of it, and she got her 45,000 followers to basically go for Christy and pretty much destroyed her professional life and reputation anyway. So this is what I wanted you to know about her background. So the thing is, I wondered whether this is why Christy never actually sued these people, because her sister-in-law, Leisha, is also a solicitor. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't pay for a solicitor to go up against these people in the Democrat Party at the moment in this era, because you would lose. Because we've seen that with every case that they're doing, is that unless you're a woke, lefty Democrat, you will lose your case, even if there's no evidence. So I wonder whether that's behind, that was the other part behind this story, because Christy Glass has the means to take legal action if she wanted to, and she should have done, because she lost financially because of all of that. Go on, you want to say something? I can see, and I'm talking too much. Go on.
Well, I wonder if that was part of it, but I also know, as much as I don't agree with Chrissy Grass's religion, I do know she's a very religious person, and she just might have said, "I'm not going to retaliate because of my faith."
Could be, yeah, could be. I mean, we don't really know, do we? There's lots of reasons, and also the other thing I wonder is whether she felt that it would kind of cement her as a white bully if she took, this poor little black woman, or
I mean, she doesn't win in any case.
Yeah,
she could file a lawsuit. She could win, but does she really win? And then it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, and I think she'd probably just had enough at that point, hadn't she? I think. Yeah. But so that's a bit of the background. So I just want to go back to what else are the really interesting things. Well, I think it's really interesting. So I found out about Felicia's properties, and just keep bearing in mind this 28,000 fundraiser. This really bothers me, and I know this is part of my own prejudice because I'm poor working class, and I do have a bit of a problem with not people inheriting money or having an easy life that's given to them in that sense. That isn't the issue. The issue is people pretending to be poor. And I mean, this is a really minor example, but when I was at university, there was this American guy, Americans, bloody hell. It turns out he was coming round to our house, our flats. He was going round to everybody's, everyone he knew every night of the week, claiming that he was poor and he had no money. So everyone was feeding him. Bearing in mind, we were all poor students ourselves, barely making ends meet. And I then found out that his dad was a very famous artist who, I'm not going to say his name, but let's just say he was Jackson Pollock's friend, and he was a sculptor in that era of that level of fame. That was his dad, and his dad was sending him 2,000 UK pounds every single month. Now, that was more than I was earning working while I was at university. You know what I mean? But what he was doing with it was saving it. Now, the thing is, some would say, well, he's clever, and he kind of is clever for doing that. He left university with 3 years worth of 2 times 36, what's that, $64,000 or whatever, that's what he came away with, pretending that he was poor. And now I have a problem with that because he's richer than me, and and I was helping him out, and that's where my issue is. And this is the same with Felicia. So when her mother died, she inherited a house that is now worth over $1 million. In the state of New York. She also inherited $250,000 in, liquid assets, cash or whatever, which is what she supposedly invested into the shop. Then she also bought a brownstone in Brooklyn. So we're talking, think of the Huxtables in the Cosby Show. You know, they lived in a brownstone, didn't they, in New York?
Mhm.
She paid for it with a cash purchase, which doesn't mean, dollar bills, but means no mortgage, for
Mhm.
$1,800,000. So she paid for that and she owns that in her own name. Well, so that's two she owns in her own name. And then a bit later, she then bought a third property with a mortgage that she's got a mortgage of $500,000, fair dues, whatever. So now, not her husband's name isn't on any of the deeds of these three properties. So there's some speculation that there's something, going on there in terms of them splitting up or whatever, but don't know, allegedly. Not interested. It's not our business. But what is our business is that she owns three properties, all of which are well over $1 million. She has a property portfolio that's worth more than $3 million. She has a $500 mortgage on top of that, though. So it's like, oh, poor Felicia, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
she had those at the time she did the GoFundMe for $28,000. Now, that's where I have a problem, because a lot of the
Mhm.
people that were giving her money wouldn't have known that she had 15 bedrooms. That's how many bedrooms are between these three properties. Now, sorry, but what does one woman with adult kids that presumably no longer live with her need with 15 bedrooms? Is it to stash her wool? Maybe that's what we do, isn't it?
That's what.
14 bedrooms for wool, and then everyone else would sleep in one room. All the
Yeah.
kids in one room together. Yeah, and this is what I found really, really repugnant about the entire thing, is that this millionaire, and she won't be short on cash. There's no way she'd
Yeah.
be short on cash having that kind of property. Now, my argument would be, if you've got a business and it's failing, the business is failing, you should you should shut shop and go, or
Yeah.
you liquidize some of your own assets to put it in. You do not beg like you're a charity, and that's my
Yeah.
issue. Now, I sent this article, I actually sent to a lawyer in America who has a connection to us, but I'm not going to say what in case they get targeted. But let's just say they have a connection to Knitting, and she read it and she actually had a bit of a go at me, because she said the first version of this, she said, came across as if I was what's the word? Like a reverse snob, basically being snobbish from a poor point of view to somebody who had money. And she argued that it's legitimate to do the GoFundMe, even if she does have 3 million whatever properties. Whereas I would still argue, no, it's not. There's a morality that I think poor people understand. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
I mean, who anybody can do a GoFundMe. It's just disingenuous to present yourself as needing money when you don't. And
Yeah.
that's where she'll have to answer to somebody for when her time has come, you
Well, I
know?
mean, the thing where I get frustrated and where it bothers me is that because I don't necessarily have that assurance or belief. So I sometimes think, what is the point of being a decent person, and doing
Yeah.
things, the correct way? Because I could do a GoFundMe. I've got, vet bills coming up. I've got a dental bill. I could do a GoFundMe and say, I want my man boobs removing. Because the NHS won't pay for it for me. It's those things. It's when somebody's taking advantage of somebody who's got less money. Because the thing is, I've actually seen this, being, really small time knitting, whatever the word is, people who are known. Um, there are people that literally would give you their last penny if they thought, because they like you or they want to see you doing what you're doing. If I said to some of the people, oh, look, I can't pay my rent this month, I know people would probably do a whip round, and get money. But it's like, I would never do that. And that's the
Yeah.
thing I don't understand about these people, is that they don't seem to have that. I don't
They
even know
don't
what
have
the
a
word is.
soul.
I was thinking more like dignity. Is that the right word? They don't. Trust Tabitha, always bringing the soul into everything and the God thing. But anyway,
Well,
this was kind of.
I don't
Oh,
know.
go on.
I think it's true. I mean, I think they're very selfish people, you know.
But I
That's
mean,
very
part of me
selfish.
thinks how clever of them, though. You know, part of me kind of has a kind of weird admiration that they are so cheeky and so audacious to do it, but they're the ones that have got the money, and you kind of think, well, who's doing it wrong, really? I mean, in terms of having a comfortable life, they're doing it right, but then I suppose in
Hmm.
terms of having a clear conscience, we're
Yeah,
doing it
yeah.
right. You know, I don't know. I just
Well,
struggle
I
with it
have.
sometimes.
I don't know about you. You don't have a soul, apparently.
Oh yeah, my do I have a soul?
I hope so.
Where would I find it? No, don't. Let's not go into that. Right. So anyway, so this was my article about Felicia Reeve, and I hope people will see that you wouldn't have found this information anywhere else. And she can come and sue me if it isn't true, because she's got enough contacts and enough money to do it. So I definitely double check the T's and the I's and all of that. So yeah, I just think she's quite despicable, really. And also, I don't think it's the last we're going to hear of her, because she's gone very, very quiet. Oh, that was the other aspect of this. Is straight after Woolen Folk, and this was really interesting as well, is that the brownstone that she bought for 1.8 million, a week after Woolen Folk went up for rent. So she moved out of her New York City property, and the rental value, I think, was something like 14 or 15,000 per month. I think it was. Yeah, a monthly rent of $14,475. Now, that's more than most people earn doing a hard job. You know, so that means she's set up for life. She never has to do another job again, ever. And that is enough to pay her 500,000 mortgage on one of the other properties. So she disappeared. She ran. She knew after Woolen Folk that she'd done the wrong thing, and she got out of Dodge, basically. That's what she did. And she went to live in one of the other properties that she's got. So that's where she's safely out in the, I don't know what you call it, there's the very posh areas of New York State. I can't remember the name of it. It's very posh. That's where one of her properties is. And not only that, it's in the middle of a forest, so it's completely isolated. You can't see it from the road. You have to drive through to get to it. Absolutely fantastic properties. To me, they're like mansions. You know, I live in a high-rise flat in Salford. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's like to have a swimming pool and to have, you know, a front and back garden. You know, where she's got like what I would think was a farm amount of land. You know, so.
Hmm.
But I don't begrudge that isn't the issue. She's entitled to whatever she's, you know, inherited or whatever she's earned legitimately. It's just the fact. Oh, well, I've said it, haven't I? But anyway, yeah. So that's the thing. She knew she'd done wrong by the fact that she ran
Yeah.
away. And also, with regard, I've got the addresses. So if there are any people that want to sue her, I've said it in the article, but get your solicitor to contact me, because I'll give you the details if you don't already have the details of where her addresses are, because she's got enough money for you to sue her. And she'll still have a lovely life afterwards. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't dox the woman. So, you know, I'm not going to give that information out just to anybody. Anyway, so that was the thing about Felicia Eve. Okay, this is my Maelstrom hat. The most amazing hat ever designed by anyone who's ever lived. What time are we on? Are we okay for time? I
I
can see
gotta
you
leave at 11.
yawning.
No, I don't. No. I have to. 11. We have to wrap it up
At
at
what
11 my
oh,
time.
how many half an hours is that from now?
I have no idea.
Because
I'm on
11
my
o'clock
phone.
to me means nothing. Is that 7 p.m. for me, isn't it? So have you got about half an hour left?
45. My alarm will go off because I have an alarm set on my phone.
Right. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get through this issue. Then we'll talk about the stuff we wanted to talk about. And then you go and I'll carry on doing the other issue on my own. Yeah? Is that a deal?
Or you don't want to do the other issue next week with me?
Well, we could talk about something else next week. Oh, well,
Okay.
well, can if you want. No, if you want to do that, we will. No, we'll do that. Right. Oh, so then we had another. This was by. Actually, did she put a name on it? I don't want to say who it is in case she didn't put a name on it. I'm going to say this was by Amy D. She wrote an open letter to Stephen West about the swastika, and it is funny. It's funny. And then this is. I've started doing. I think these are interesting. I hope other people do as well. They're there are news archives from Britain, usually from Britain, and they're about knitting. And I've tried to link them to whatever the theme of that issue is. So what it is this time, it was writing about knitting stories connected to actual Nazis, to kind of make the point that these people suffered, but they got on with it, and they weren't crying about, you know, a silly woolen folk thing, or they weren't crying about a swastika on a shawl. You know what I mean? So some of them, there's like this one, women must knit for Nazis. Now, what that's about is in occupied Europe, this particular country, it was Poland, I think, I can't quite read it, but when they were occupied by the Nazis, every woman, now bear this, every woman in Poland at that time had to knit for the Nazi soldiers. So they had to knit gloves, they had to knit socks, they had to knit hats. And I'd take it, if they didn't know, they would have had to have learned pretty sharpish, you know, and that they had to pay for the wool themselves. They, you know, so imagine that all of your knitting time would have been for them, and the expense would have been yours as well. Now, moan about a bloody swastika on a shawl, you know what I mean? It just doesn't,
Yeah.
you know. And some of the other things are awful as well. There's this one, the home from Nazi jails. These were women, there were men as well, obviously, but these were women who were in Nazi prison camps just for being in the wrong place, basically, the wrong nationality or whatever, talking about the knitting while they were in the camps and what the worst part of that was. And it's just, I don't know, it just kind of puts everything into context, because I do wonder what we're going to do with the population we've got now, who can't even see certain things without crying. You know, what are they going to do when there's a real problem in the world?
Yeah.
Oh, Morgan's gone. Oh, look. Oh, what's this? Oh, God. Some crappy pattern. I don't know.
Who's this bitch?
Oh, my God. With a gun? What? So this is your Mobius cowl, although
Yeah.
it's not a true Mobius, because
No,
now
it's
I've done my topography, I know. But it's a really cute cowl, though, isn't it? I've seen quite a few people are knitting it.
Yeah, I was really surprised at the amount of people that have knitted it. You know, it's right up there with my Murder Knits shawl. You know, my pick what you want, knit what you want. You know, I was really surprised that a lot of people love this. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I take the piss out of it a little bit, but there is something to be said for the no gauge, no stress, just cast on and go kind of thing, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping you will do some kind of a sweater at some point that has the same kind of feel about it.
I don't see why. I mean, if it fits my fat ass, it'll fit anybody. So
Well, maybe do it to my fat ass, because I think I'm probably fatter than you. Although, who knows? I don't know. I mean, you've never seen me below here, have you? You don't know what it's like beneath the waist.
you have chicken legs. Chicken legs and no ass.
Oh, everyone will be thinking about that now. With the bloggers and vloggers list, that's going to go for next issue as well. So they will all come back, but again, we just need a bit of time to figure out who, you know, actually wants to be there, who doesn't want to be, you know, all that kind of stuff. Just a quick note on this. Just say about the yarn that was used, because was it a sock set that you used for this?
It was a sock set, and that's why I think a lot of people love it, because you get these sock sets and you think these are too beautiful to put on my feet. And a lot of people don't like DK weight socks, but they get a sock set because it's a great use of money. It's pretty affordable for what you get. You know, it's a good buy for your money, and they're beautiful. And so I have a bunch of DK weight yarn that I'm never going to wear as socks. And so this was a great use of a sock set.
And did you use like literally every last
Yep.
bit? Yeah. And did you have to Kitchener it together, or did you do the
No,
rope version of Kitchener? What's that called?
No, you don't. The way I did it, I might design another one that actually uses a Kittner stitch and a different kind of twist. But the way this twist is that you fold it funny and then you just sandwich it together to get
what,
that
like
knot.
a whip stitch? So just whip stitched or
Yeah.
mattress stitch? Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it so is that hidden on the inside? Where's that seam hidden? So it's just, you can see it, but just inside.
So
Oh, she's getting old. You can hear her bones creaking. Did you all hear her knees go then?
trying to think, where's the? So it's just you fold it and you. This is the inside. You fold it and you do this weird thing. I think I put on there the tutorial I used because there's a YouTube tutorial on how to do this.
Right. You can.
And
Yeah,
then
I
when
can
you
see now.
fold it right side out,
Ah.
that's
Oh,
what it
it's
looks
not
like.
right. That's something different. So it's not really. I from the photos I couldn't see what you're showing there. So I just thought you'd kind of twisted it and sewed it like still in a tube. But that's a fixed seam, is it? That's fixed.
Yeah.
So that fold is always in that spot, which is what
Yes.
you want because of the fact that you've
Yes.
used two colored. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I get it
And
now.
it's
Yeah.
if you watch the episode this design was based off of, for 80% of the episode, the person was crazy. She had lost her damn mind. And then Jessica solves the riddle and she's back to being sane, and that's why you have a solid color.
Ah.
So there's,
See,
I'm
as a
smart.
person who can't get through an episode of Murder She Wrote, I appreciate the explanation because there's no way I'll be watching that episode. I can't. I'm
So there
sorry.
was
I've tried.
there was a clever reason to the crazy yarn for 80% of the cow, and then at the very end she's like, I see the light, you know.
Was she angry though? Because it's like she's seen red.
No, no.
Should have been calm and blue. No.
But I want to knit another. I want to design another cow. There's an episode of Murder She Wrote called "Corned Beef and Carnage," and maybe that's the one.
We were talking about corned beef
That'll.
the other day, weren't
Yeah, we were.
we? Is that what
And
made you
that's
think
the
of
one.
that?
Yes. And I rewatched the episode, and I was like, I have to do it.
Oh, that's
I
a
need
great
to.
name.
It
How
is.
well, see, your corned beef is different to what we have as corned beef, isn't it? So I've got a different idea in my head of what you could do for that. But
So our corned beef is. You know what a brisket is?
I
Have you
do,
ever heard
yeah.
of brisket? So what we do corned beef is we take a brisket and we brine it for X amount of time, and then you either some people will boil it, like they boil it for like what's that, corned beef and cabbage,
Oh yeah,
but all it
right.
is like a brined brisket that's been cooked,
It sounds
and then
much
it's
nicer
how
than
you
what we
do
have.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what we have is this tinned thing that came from the war, I think, and it's obviously beef. No idea how they make it. It's probably like cow anus and cow hoof. It's probably nothing good. But we laugh, like when we were at school and you had to, the girls weren't allowed to wear trousers; they had to wear skirts. So in the winter, they used to get really cold legs that were like red and pink mottled legs, and we used to call them corned beef legs. And it's like because that's the colour of this tin stuff we have, which most British people, older people, kind of like it. I kind of like it. It does make you smell after though. You have this weird smell that comes off you when you've had it. But right, so bloggers and vloggers, like I said, that'll be coming out next issue. Or being removed, I should say, next issue. We've already talked about the Felicia Eve family tree. It's worth having a proper read of this and having a look at some of the information and look up some of these characters. Just in case you didn't know, that's your president at the moment in the top right-hand corner. And he doesn't look the same. I'm
Not
sure
my
he's
president.
I don't think, well, he's got a different head. What's going on with his head? He doesn't look like he used to. But
No, he does. I think he's a clone.
there's something going on. I also think King Charles doesn't look the same as he used to either. Something very weird is going on there. Now this shawl. I really want to knit this. I'm at some point. It's getting the time to do it. This shawl was designed by Karen, and she designed it first. I don't know whether she'd knitted it as well, but then she watched the episode I did with Kelly, the number knitting episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was a really good episode.
I'm going
No
to get Kelly on
drama.
again. I'm going to get her on again.
I really enjoyed that.
She's great to talk to, and she knows that subject inside out. you know, and she's kind of got a bit of a ditzy vibe going on to, which I kind of like, you know. She's quite, she doesn't take herself too seriously, which is good. But anyway, Karen watched that episode, and one of the things that she took from it was the fact that Virginia Woods Bellamy, who wrote Numbered, which I've got the book now. I'll have to show it at some point. I've got the $200 book that I bought. But I've got it now. It's already worth $280, so I've already made a profit. Well, anyway, one of the things about Virginia Woods Bellamy was she tried to make everything was modular, but everything kind of had to be one piece of yarn. She didn't like cutting the yarn and rejoining it if she could help it. I mean, some of them she had to. So what Karen then went away and did, and I don't know how hard it was for her, but she redesigned it with that principle in mind. So as long as your yarn is long enough, you should be able to knit this cowl just continually, even though it's knitted in 4 or 5, is it 5, 6 separate pieces. And I just think it's I really like the shape of it, because it's not so unusual that it's never been seen before, but it's kind of unusual, you know what I mean? And I can see it I just think the potential for different yarns is quite strong because of the direction of the knitting. If you used variegated yarn or stripy yarn, you're going to really see the shapes of where you've knitted, so it's going to make it look more interesting. And I love the photos she did. I just think it was so well done. Anyway, so that was I need to explain this. I've been putting these next issue things here and then forgetting what I've put there. So I keep saying that I'm going to be doing these triangle shawl recipe patterns, and I just keep forgetting to do it. But I think Tabitha should do that, because that's your kind of thing, isn't it? So I think that should be your job. How about it?
Are you going to pay me?
No. Nobody gets paid. So that is issue 11. So what we'll do then is we'll talk about issue 12 next week, yeah? So now, shall we get on to the... Let's try and get rid of the Christmas stuff. Ooh,
okay, well, first I have a question. 2 questions, if we have time.
Oh, Karen's in the chat. I'll just say this. Karen, who designed it, she's actually here. I had knitted about a third of it and it wasn't working out. So there you go. Watch the Block Magazine videos and you may learn something that will help your designs. Not you, Karen, but other people. Sorry. Right, go on. You had some questions that I won't know the answer to.
I got this at the hospice store. It's a charity shop. And it's a tablecloth. No, it's a tablecloth. And it's kind of, it's like, I don't know, woven, I guess. But it's gorgeous. And it was $1. I want to knit a blanket in one of these colors and attach it.
Okay.
My question is, like, if I do that, it's going to create like a thing where the blanket is only attached right here. Should I hand quilt it once it's attached so that way it doesn't go like that,
I don't know what hair quilting is. You'll have to explain that.
Hand quilting, like when I sew it together. Like, should I attach the blanket in more places than just the border? Or would that look stupid because it's not going to be the same?
Okay, the only frame of reference I've got for this is I've seen people doing it with crochet. I've never seen anybody do it with knitting. And I think what they do is they reinforce, which might be what you're talking about with this hair, or whatever. I don't know what that is, but they reinforce that edge. What's it called?
Okay. Hand quilting.
Hair quilt. Yeah, so you're basically going to be folding it over, aren't you, and making a proper edging like you would have here. And that's what they make the hole into. And I don't know whether they also have something else that's, because it is going to tear, isn't it? If you're not careful, it is going to do something.
Well, my concern is that on different parts of the blanket, you'll have this piece and then you have your knitting. Like, you'll have it a 2-sided blanket that's attached only on the edges. I'm worried that a kid will take the knitting fabric and pull it and then pull this and it'll be like wings. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's a good question. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this? I think that is going to be the...
It's gorgeous. Thing. I don't know. It was $1. And I don't have a table that will fit this.
So is it going to go on a bed?
Yes. Or be like a blanket.
Is it going to go on Wayland's bed?
No, probably. Well, I thought about a gift. A gift for a baby girl or a girl.
Because I was going to say, because if it's going to be, I was going to say, don't do it if it's going to go away, Elizabeth, because he'll
No,
rip
I'll
it
put it on
apart.
the floor.
Because that's going to be quite heavy as well, isn't it? If it's BS says tie with yarn in a grid pattern every 10 inches or so. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense to me, but does it make sense to you?
I get it.
I mean, I have been known to sew straight lines. I do have a sewing machine, but that is the extent. I've made some cushion covers once, and that is my experience of sewing. Karen's got a question. Is it for stability or to make it stay cleaner? Tie like a quilt comforter.
Well, I don't. I said it's a gorgeous. I think it's a gorgeous pattern, and I thought it'd be really cute if I did like a green garter stitch blanket for the backside. I don't know.
I mean, you could do you would have to make a full size blanket, but you could do that thing where that's your liner for a full size blanket, which then you would have to sew along like you do. Is that what they call it? Herring, when you do the quilt lines on a quilt down the middle, you go and you do a pack. I mean, if you went in a grid section, is that what that might be what the other people say? I don't know the terms for it, but it would work as a liner, and then the liner would probably keep it all in shape anyway. But you would have to have a lot of sewing, because otherwise you'll just get like a big baggy thing, wouldn't you, that would go out of shape.
I'm trying to justify this purchase, and you guys aren't helping.
Well, I thought you were going to say, because it gave me a different idea, but it's about how to replicate the pattern. That's what I thought you were going to ask, and it would be really easy to replicate it. Yeah, because all you would have to do is do it in fingering weight held double. So, for example, can you see where the yellow crosses the green right at the top there? You can see it on the screen. So you've got a green stripe. All you would do is that one in the middle would be your yellow and green held together. The two green on either side is white and green held together. And then that dark green would be green and green held together, and you just make the squares like that. So
that'd be cool. Yeah,
that would work. I mean, I'm sure there's an easier way of doing it than knitting each individual square, like in strips or something. But I love that kind of. What is it? Is that what you call ging? No, it's not gingham, is it? No, what's it called? Those patterns.
I think it is gingham. I think it is.
Is it gingham?
Or plaid?
It's not tart. Yeah, you plaid. Yeah. Plaid. I don't know how you say.
So plaid.
BS, here we go. You can sew your knitting with a sewing machine with a zigzag pattern. Yeah, because it needs to stretch, doesn't it? Around the edges. If you use a walking foot on your machine, it should feed through okay. But you would have to test that. You might have to do a little swatch, because it would rip your knitting to pieces if it's not. Yeah, we were going to do a question and answer thing, like Andrea Mowry does. But every question is going to be, oh, fuck it. Throw it in the dryer. Fuck it. Rip it out. Start again. Here we go. So a few other questions. The purpose of tying it would be to keep the top from shifting around. Yeah, because otherwise it would. Stupid idea. You'd have to wash and block the shit out of the knitting first.
No, not if I used acrylic.
That's what I would do, but then I don't know much about sewing, so I would make the quilt out of knitted fabric and then attach it to that and have that as a liner. Because I think if you had it on the bed and folded it over, it's going to look really nice, isn't it, with that bit showing?
Yeah.
Because there's not much else you could do with it other than on a bed, really, is there? You're getting some. You can do it. You need to do that thing with your arm up. You can do it. I did a class where we crochet a bag pattern and then sewed with a machine the lining on the inside. Right. And acrylic will still grow and pucker.
You know what, Joe Bob? Just fuck off. You know what she's doing? It's because I made her rip out her acrylic shawl on Knit Dice, so she's getting back at me, and I told her it looked like shit. That's exactly what that is, Joe.
Oh, poor Joe. Oh, yeah, for those that don't know, Knit Fuckery is Joe off Knit Night, the lady who lives in her car. And Senko says, I would be careful not to knit something that's going to stretch and be bigger than the fabric. You might want to make your knitted section smaller for a little bit snug. Why do you want it to have knitting with it though? Really, why can't you use it as a piece of fabric for its own in its own right?
Because it's not thick enough. It's not
Oh, I
warm enough
see.
to be a
Right.
blanket.
Could you, if I mean, presumably you sew, don't you? Obviously, you must sew
Yeah.
to be thinking about it. Could you not just get another plain piece of fabric that would match and make it
Well,
into a quilt
I'd
cover?
have to. I'd have to. It's a weird shape. It's like it's a tablecloth. So it's not for me
This is
to
how
get.
poor Tabitha is. She's making clothes out of tablecloths, people. Come on, you need to send her some money.
Oh my god! So it's funny because where I work, there's all different kind of people on the income, and we were talking about recipes and budgets and what we do, and I said, "Oh, I got to go home and bake bread." They're like, "Well, why don't you buy it at the store?" And I'm like, "Girl, if I could afford to buy bread at the store, I would. I am so poor. I have to bake my bread. I can't
Oh,
afford bakery products." I bought some the other day, and it was $50 for all the stuff that I would normally bake. That's like a third of my budget. No, no,
well, you were
ma'am.
talking about what you were going to be cooking for something the other day, and I'll tell you something. It's a good job I'm not in America because I would be there with a begging bowl because I can't be. I can cook, but I'm a can't be bothered. Can't be bothered cook.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, yeah, here's 50 cents. I will eat your meal. Wouldn't even cover anything. Would it?
Chicken pot pie. That's what we're having this weekend.
Karen
Chicken
says,
pot pie,
"You're so
Daddy.
rich, you have time to make homemade bread."
I can't afford daycare. That's why I'm home.
You need
No,
to make the
I
kids
work at
bake you.
night. I do split shifts. So when my husband gets off work, then I go to work because I can't afford daycare.
I think Jo
I'm
should
not
wear a
even
pair of bloomers on her next knit night, because she's doing the whole Victorian porn thing by showing ankle. I think.
I'm not even gonna respond to that. Go watch Knit Night to find out if Murderknits wears bloomers.
I don't know. So what?
Okay,
So are you going to
so
just go on?
I don't know. Well, if I would have to take this down to Joann's and see if I can find fabric on the bolt that would work with this. Because it's not like, the fabric on the bolt's like 36 inches wide or like 44 inches wide. So I don't know.
And
I'm just
is
trying to
money a
justify.
factor where you don't want to be spending more money on it because you've got it
No.
cheap anyway, and you've got a whole
Yeah.
room of yarn. You've got
Yeah.
14 bedrooms full of yarn. So
Yeah. And I really can't afford to go buy brand new fabric,
what about
you know.
cotton yarn, or would that just be a nightmare to knit that size? Because cotton
Cotton
does
yarn?
hurt fingers, doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't have any. Well, the only cotton yarn I can get here is like that sugar cotton that you do for dishcloths, and that's not pleasant to knit
Um,
with at all.
no, the nice cotton can be a bit expensive as well, can it? It can
Yeah.
be as much as decent wool, really. But would that work? I mean, I don't know. People in the comments, would that work better for stretching and for sewing afterwards as well? I presume it would. There you go. Just in case you feel bad about keeping your kids safe is priceless,
Yeah. Well.
and feeding them proper food is priceless as
Yeah.
well, as we've found out with the the wokies that aren't having enough animal fat.
We eat pretty good for being poor. I have a really good sized garden that's fed us pretty damn well this winter. So, and my husband hunts and fish. There's been a lot of nights where we've ate for free because it's either been a fish my husband caught and a garden squash, or the deer or bear he shot, and garden potatoes and homemade
I
bread. I
want,
mean, we do
I
pretty good.
really want to try bear, but I've got a feeling that I would not like it because I don't like that. Gamey meats where there's a flavour to it that's quite strong, and I don't like that.
So, if you process it right, a lot of people don't hang their animals long enough. And my father-in-law um, has a built-in walk-in cooler, so we hang all our own animals in his shop, and it's like a big refrigerator, like a proper butcher, you
Was
know.
this like
So
Children of the Corn, where they have the bodies on the hooks? Is that what's in there?
I wasn't gonna say that.
But yeah.
So we hang our animals longer than other people because we don't want that to happen.
How do they not get maggots on them, or do they? How
Because
does it not go rancid?
they're in a freezer. It's a
Well, what did
literal
they do
fridge.
years ago when they used to hang them outside the front porch? You know what I mean? You'd have a pheasant hanging out off a door or whatever. You know, how did
Well,
that happen?
if it's cold enough, you're not going to get maggots.
Ah, right. But what if it's middle of summer?
You don't. You eat it right away, or you do
Ah,
other things. You put salt on it to preserve it. You don't.
see, city life, I've no idea. If it doesn't come in a plastic wrapper, no idea what it. Right, well, we're running out of time, so we need to talk about the drama, don't we, before you have to go. So there's
Yes.
been a couple of things of drama, and I think, are we going to focus on the two dyers that are having a bit of a spat at the moment? So go on, Tabitha, you tell us, set the scene.
So I don't know much. Like I don't know. I'm sure Emma in the moment will do a much better breakdown than we do, but fuck off.
It won't be funny.
No. So basically, this started, I think, a dyer called Treehouse Knits put up a story on Instagram saying that she was blocked by a dyer and wanted to know why, or didn't understand why she was blocked by a dyer. And that's how I think this whole thing got started. Sock Obsession Yarns, for whatever reason, has blocked a bunch of yarn dyers. I don't, she says to protect her creativity. Whatever. I don't care. I don't buy it. But I Treehouse Knits, for whatever reason, was offended by that and put up a story on her Instagram wanting to know if other people have been blocked by her as well. And so all this
I missed
snowballed.
part of it. Yeah, I didn't realize.
That's how. And then I don't know if it was at the same time or shortly after, Sock Obsession Yarn put up like the screenshots of people wanting to know her how she dyed yarn and how she did things and why she did things and like were it was pretty damn rude, I thought, sending her nasty emails wanting to know her secrets and where she got yarn. And so
Who
I don't
was
know if
that
that was,
from? Did she say who
I
those
don't
were from,
know.
or did she block that out?
I think she blocked them out. I don't know who they were from.
Right.
But so, and I don't know if that was related to Treehouse Knits or she just happened to share that the same time it was going on.
Oh, don't go now, Tabitha. Just at the key point. Come back. Has she gone? Well, yeah. So what I got from it was that she wanted to be friends on Facebook, or not in Facebook, on Instagram with Sock Obsession, and Sock Obsession doesn't let anybody be friends with her for some reason, which is entirely up to. Oh, she's back.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, you did that on purpose just to see me struggling to carry on the story when I only know half of it.
No, I'm sorry. No.
I can't do it without you, Tabitha. Don't leave me again. So go on. What were you up to? What were you saying?
So, anyways, this one dyer is upset because the other dyer blocked her. And it's blown up into this huge thing of Sock Obsession Yarn shut her Instagram down because she was feeling threatened and questioned. Treehouse went on this crying Instagram live because she was upset she was blocked and thinks everybody should get along and be one big happy family. But it's funny because both of these fights and blowups between these two dyers have resulted in them selling a lot of fucking yarn.
So do you think there's something
My
behind it?
my theory, my opinion is they both, and this is I don't know if this is true or not, but my opinion is that they both contacted each other and said, "Hey, our sales are down. Let's start some drama and then push our yarn to support us in our time of need." Because this has resulted in everybody coming out and either buying yarn from Sock Obsession to support her in this rough time, or buying yarn from Treehouse, who has a new line of yarn out right now. And they're sharing it all over Instagram and Facebook and sharing their yarn colors and what they've knitted with it. It's a big PR, intentional or
Mm.
not. It's a big PR campaign for those two.
Allegedly, let's just say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, see, I don't know sock obsession yarns at all, but I have encountered treehouse yarns before. So I'll give you a bit of background on that. Is that when the whole thing with Adela blew up and I released issue 1, she was one of the people that was attacking me at the time. However, she was much more polite about it, and she did what she thought was calling me out. And one of the things that and this is the interesting bit that I'm only just thinking about now, is that one of her issues was, because I don't know if you remember at the time, but when I first kind of came to prominence, Instagram actually put my account onto private, because I think the traffic that was coming to my account and sending abuse, basically, because it was pretty bad at that time, something must have clicked, and I got a message saying, we have put your thing onto private or whatever. I don't even understand how it works. And after that, at a certain point, I was able to put it back to normal. But then I thought, you know what? I'm going back. I liked it. I like the fact that the people that were in my comments were people who I knew. You know what I mean? And yeah, you could say it's an echo chamber, but it's like, well, the problem I have is sometimes people say things sarcastically, and I don't know whether it's a joke or whether it's somebody attacking me. Whereas when I know who the people are, I find it easier to differentiate. But the thing is, anybody can contact me via DM. But anyway, she sent me a message, and she had a real problem with the fact that people weren't allowed to comment or couldn't physically comment on anything I was saying. Because clearly, you know, she was one of the people that wants to say shit underneath whatever you posted. So there is a bit of a parallel there, in that she had a problem with not having full access to my account, not my account, but my feed, or whatever the word is. And we did have we had an interesting chat, which I'm not going to share because there was no drama involved in that chat, and it was and she was very, very polite. So when all this came out, I'd completely forgot that I'd already had this big conversation with her 2 years ago. So I went to look her up and could see that she hadn't blocked me, which is unusual for the lefties. They usually block me. And then I saw that we had this past conversation, which I read. So I did send her a nice message. I think I did share it with Tabitha, because one of the things that I do now is, if I ever send anybody a direct message, especially if they're on, you know, what I consider the other side, I always share it with one person, so either Tabitha or DK or Anne or somebody, you know, just so that there's somebody out there that can say, no, that isn't what was said. You know what I mean? Because I get accused of threatening people, for example, and whatever. And anyway, so we had this very nice chat, which there's no need to share it at the moment because there's nothing been said about it. And I did kind of get the impression that she was the wronged party, but I'm starting to doubt that now, and I'm really unsure as to who is in the wrong, because you don't have to be friends with anybody on Instagram or Facebook. You do not have to. I mean, it might be weird to block people, but there's no I mean, because the thing is, Treehouse Knits is connected to some of the mean people of the knitting world, you know, the Adelas and people like that. She's friendly with all of them. So if Sock Obsession isn't, she might have been doing it as a bit of a preemptive thing. But then, like you say, it might all be, I don't know. I just find it really odd that neither party has come up with any evidence. And I think that is the key to this, is that if something happens, you have to show the evidence. Because otherwise it's just your word against theirs, isn't it? But apparently that's sea lining, isn't it now? That's the thing. If you demand evidence, it's sea lining.
But I remember Sock Obsession's yarn name was familiar, and I had bought her yarn years ago, pre-COVID. And I've never bought yarn from Treehouse Knit. So this is the yarn that apparently gets people blocked, you know, because she comes up with, if she blocks people, she comes up with this. It's pretty yarn.
Yeah, it's really, I like it. I don't like the orange as much, but I like the rest of it. I love the greens and the blues.
So, I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it's not bad yarn. And then this is her other.
I prefer that one.
You know, this one was my first skein of yarn that I ever bought from her. but I don't. It was just weird to watch it unfold, and I was like, why are they even doing this? They have no connection.
Mm.
You know, Sock Obsession Yarns isn't really. She doesn't do anything on her feeds, but post her yarns. She's not political. She's not. She uses her Instagram as a purely for showing the colors, and that's it. There's never been anything else. Whereas I think Treehouse has used her Instagram kind of like as an activist, plus selling yarn, which is her prerogative. She can use it however she wants, but it's
Which
just weird how they just
which
started this
again is,
fight.
I mean, I kind, there's a part of me that kind of likes Lauren Treehouse, and there's part of me I like the fact she's polite. I like that,
Yeah,
but there's a part of me that thinks, yeah, the things that you're saying now makes me think, why does she feel the need she has to go troll? Is she trying to troll through her Instagram to find evidence of her not fitting in with the woke? I don't know. I'm just thinking these things now, because that's
yeah.
what they do, isn't it? They'll find your Instagram, for example, look through every post, looking for something they can read as racist or as a dog whistle or
Well,
whatever.
in the live that Lauren did, she was like, I just don't understand why yarn dyers have to block other yarn dyers. We should all be one big happy community. And it's like, no, we're not a happy, Sock Petition explained this very nicely in his podcast he did with the Cancel podcast. We're not a knitting community.
Yeah.
We're people who knit.
And some of us are friends with each other and some of us
Yeah.
aren't. Yeah. Well, the thing is, what I would say to Lauren about that is, well, tell all your friends, why am I blocked? If we're all
Yeah.
this lovely knitting community, why am I blocked by all of those people? For not actually doing anything wrong as well. This is the thing. Why are you blocked or were blocked before you deleted your Instagram? This is, yeah, there's something about this that's bothering me, because I feel like I find it difficult, because I kind of prefer things that are black and white, and I don't mean that in a racial way. I mean that in a, clear, things that are clear, because that's going to get screenshotted now, isn't it? That's going to be black and white, black and white. I like to know who the villain of the piece is, and then I want to support the person that is the victim. And in this one, I really can't see who that is, and I almost wonder whether, I mean, your theory is a valid theory. I think there's definitely some traction in that, but I wonder whether it's more a case of their followers, because this is what happens. Well, I'm not saying we as in you and I, but I know people on our side have done this, and I know they do it to us, where the instigator of the issue isn't the one that is actually doing some of the nasty things. Some of the people who are followers around often take it upon themselves to do things that they think is helping you. And I know that's what Lola Bean's people do, for example, all 45,000 of them. They will act in her name, but not necessarily doing things that she might have explicitly said to do. And I know there'll probably have been people that would do the same for us, that we've not asked them to do anything, but then we get blamed for it.
Yeah.
And Adela will get blamed for things that she hasn't actually done. So I wonder whether these two yarn dyers, it's their followers that are doing all these messages, because the fact that she didn't share that message where, it was pretty horrible, wasn't it? You said, where it's like, why are you blocking people? The fact that she hasn't said who it is that sent it makes me think that it wasn't Treehouse Knits that has sent it. It's somebody that she doesn't even know.
Yeah.
But wasn't there Wizard? Isn't there a guy in Britain called Wizard Yarns or something? Didn't Sock Obsession have something with him?
Well, so Sock Obsession. Hang on, I got to turn my clock around. I'm still here.
She's multitasking. She's cooking chicken and knitting and chatting.
I got 5 minutes, and then I got to leave.
Right, okay.
Sock Obsession sold yarn to this person. And this kind of worries me, and it's really made me rethink. I mean, I'm not really buying yarn now, but it's really made me rethink of who I've bought yarn from in the past and what I do moving forward, because Sock Obsession sold this yarn colorway to this person in England, and he had sent her a question or something about her yarn, and she didn't answer him, or something happened there, and then she sees he starts dyeing yarn himself, and it's awfully close to what she did, what she said. Like she says that he copied her. I don't. A lot of people do that colorway. I don't. But so she had, had his info from that yarn purchase and linked it to his Instagram of where he sold the, where he advertised the yarn. And that made me nervous. He very well could have bought a skin yarn and said, "Oh, I can do this," and then does it and sells it. He probably did that.
Isn't
But the
that
fact
though
that she,
I'm just thinking, in an absence of any sort of proper teaching resources to yarn dye, isn't that kind of how people learn? Because like I can yarn dye, not I couldn't sell it because I'm not, it's hit and miss. I just throw things in and hope for the best. But I learned how to do that by watching Chemknits, and I watch Tina do hers, and I watch Arcane do his. And I like Arcane has a technique where he kind of pushes the yarn down in a bit of water and kind of creates blocks so the color doesn't bleed. Now, if I'm going to dye for myself, I'm going to copy some of those techniques. So is that
yeah,
not what that is? It's a bit like when you start designing patterns, isn't it? You use
yeah,
another
you
pattern
steal patterns from Andrea Mowry.
So is it not the same? I don't know. Is it so bad? I'm not sure.
See, I don't. I think some of my yarn dyer friends would have an issue with it, but I don't think it's bad. I mean, anybody can dye yarn, whether you're good or not. That's on you to hone
Yeah.
your craft and practice. But what worried me is that she had saved his information from years ago
Oh, I see. I see where you're
and
going.
connect. And then, so she saw that post on Instagram and found out who that was and went back in her records and had all his financial information from that yarn purchase.
Right. So they've got your address, they've got your credit card potentially. I don't know whether that gets saved by. Yeah. Well, I try to be really careful. Who I buy. There's only, and it's not that I don't trust all the dyers out there. It's that I know some. If I'm not absolutely sure that they're, above board in that way, then I won't buy from them at all. I don't know. Yeah. That. I mean. You would have that information, though, wouldn't you? Anyway, if you're a business, you would keep that information for potentially tax purposes, I suppose.
But I don't know if she shared his address, but she shared publicly how she knew who it was based off of the yarn purchase.
Right.
And that
I'm just
bothered
looking.
me.
Senko Farms is in the chat. Now, I don't know, Senko, you sell yarn, I think, don't you? I can't remember. I know she sent me some yarn, actually, some really nice yarn. Yeah, more people need to send me yarn. Why aren't you all sending me yarn? I'm a knitfluencer, everybody. Send me yarn. No joke. No, she sent me this lovely yarn, and I don't know whether she's selling dyed yarn or not. And I just wondered whether you keep, not accusing you, but do you keep everybody's names and addresses and details? Is that something that you have to do as a business? Or would you just delete it all after so long? I don't know. She might have gone now. She's asleep. Wake up,
Well, my
Senko.
worry is I've bought yarn from liberal dyers and not really thought about it, But then I think, well, what if one of their staff goes through their records and puts two and two together of who I am?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the dyer, but one of the workers.
Yeah, because somebody only has to look for the name Tabitha. And, I know you're not the only Tabitha in the world, but you can narrow it down pretty quickly. Tabitha from the state that you live in, narrows it down a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like me, Neil, literally Hitler, living in, an ivory tower somewhere in the middle of Manchester. Here we go. She hasn't sold a ton of yarn, but I have sold fleeces, and yes, I keep that information. I mean, the difference is well, hopefully, I don't think she wouldn't use that information. But Senko, why do you keep the information? Is there a reason you would need to keep it? As in, does it have to be submitted to anybody, or do you just keep it in case there's ever any kind of comeback, or I sent not this Christmas, the Christmas before, I sent the proofreaders on the magazine. I sent them all a skein of yarn from Chicken Lady. Now, what was good about that was that I didn't have to get I don't know their addresses, you see. I didn't want to ask them their addresses. So I went to Chicken Lady and I just said, are these people your customers? And it turned out they were. So I was able to say, I gave her the money, obviously, and I said, would you send them all a surprise yarn, just one yarn. That's all it was. So she was able to do that. So she obviously had those records. Here we go. BS. In the US, you have to keep business records for IRS for 7 years. So presumably that's everything. That'll be everything, including customers' data, then, won't it?
Well, Neil, it's been fun. I have to go. You don't have to end your stream, but I have to go. I have to go take my chicken out of the oven and pick up my kid from school.
Oh, they can leave the kids at school. There'll be someone to look after them.
I'll send you the bill.
No, I'm poor. I don't have a 1.8 million brown house. Here we go. Yes, the commie IRS can go back that far. 7 years. God, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Tabitha, for joining me. I mean, I've been asking you every week for must be 2 months now, and you just keep refusing to come on. Don't know why. So hopefully, well, shall we try and do that? Oh, hang on, next week. Can I do? Yeah, I can do a day next week.
Okay.
And we'll do issue 12 and we'll finish off the drama because there is more Craftsnark drama that we can talk about. I mean, I've got my drama to talk about. Oh, me. You know, there's that whole set. That's why I'm here, just to talk about me. So we'll see you possibly maybe next. Well, won't say now because obviously it'll change. So we'll hopefully do this next week. And are you going to be on Knit Night again soon or not? Or have you done that?
I don't have a Monday off until I'll have to look and see when I have another Monday off.
Yeah, because if you haven't watched it, Knit Night Mondays, really funny, really worth watching. It's a bit chaotic, but it is funny. And also Knitting Wars every other Tuesday. So I think are they on this Tuesday, Knitting Wars, or is it? Oh, did we just do what? Do you know? I can't even remember. Anyway, right. So shall we go? So as always, Tabitha, you're probably getting a bit bored of seeing this now, but you have been blocked.